Hello again, and welcome to Painter's Block. I'm your host, Anthony Ryden, and please like and subscribe. Follow us on YouTube at Painter's Block. Today we're going to be going through cool tone armors with fast and easy highlights. First, we're going to be using a little bit of Incubi darkness, mixed half-half with some water. Now, just mix a bit at a time. We're going to be using this for the whole armor. And some contrast Wildwood. Now we're going to be using that all over the body. You see the dark parts with brown. We just use that on some white primer as the base. Now I used white scar, but you can use anything you prefer. As long as it's just a white. You just want a white base so that you can really have your colors pop. There's other reasons to have different types of primers, but this is what I'm choosing for now, and I'll make another video about why you could use different methods for different primers and whatnot. Now we're just going to apply generously some, like half and half of the Incubi darkness with some thinner, anything you want, but I would just use water mainly, especially if you're a basic beginner like I am. In this step, I'm using the 3 brush. I'll link in the description below the set of brushes I use, but you can use a slightly larger brush if you want. I just wanted to use the small one. Now remember to apply possibly a couple of coats. Now I applied about once, maybe twice on certain areas. I wanted some of those highlights to still pop through, but you don't have to worry about it too much. We are going to be able to go through with some grays as a midtone and some highlights, so you don't have to worry about losing too much of the definition. We are going to get those back. It depends on your preference. A lot of people like to paint a few coats over and over. It'll make a very smooth appearance. I'm not too worried about having that. I'm not trying to go for a Space Marine type armor, but rather something like a rough Wildwood type armor, something that he's grown for decades out of the forest and now he's bringing into battle. Now remember to rotate your model quite a few different angles, pretty much all of the different angles you can possibly conceive. You're going to see a lot of missed spots no matter what, pretty much, but the good thing about having white is that once you start putting these colors down, you will see the white pop as you're trying to find these spots, as it does not match the rest of what you just painted. So we're just going to go through and hit all of the spots that we think are supposed to be more of like a armor that is going around him, protecting all of his more, I don't know if you would say squishy, but softer wood bits that he doesn't want to have attacked. One good point to make is that you want to come up with the idea for what parts of your model are going to be what before you start painting. It really helps with the process so that you're not sitting there confused on what is what. You really want to grab your model and look at it ahead of time and really decide what is armor, what is his body, what is an accent to the armor, some kind of gilt plating. Is this supposed to be a part of his body, or is this an extra extremity that's kind of useless, or is it useful for something? Does it emit light? There's a lot of useful parts of the armor. Now, here we're going to go in and start hitting the gilded parts that I was just talking about. Now, a lot of armors you'll see they'll gild with gold or some kind of silver just to go around all of the colored armor that they made. I'm choosing to use a lighter brown tone. A actual Gorthor Brown is the color. Now, I'm going to use that about half-half with some water, thinned out, and I'm going to just hit all of these branches, kind of creating its own gilded appearance and giving him also this crown of wood that gilds the rest of his armor, so it kind of will give him this gilded crown look as well on top of his head. And it'll just blend into the Wildwood brown that we used for the body and really accent those cool armor tones that we just used. Now, brown is a really useful color. You can use all types of shades of brown to go with a lot of different colors because it's mixed with every primer. So when you're trying to mix things, brown, great. It'll muddy things up, but you can actually use it to accent things too. One example being marble. Now, a lot of people use browns to accent marble tones, and it'll actually almost appear like a stained appearance inside the marble. You see it a lot of times if you go to a store like Lowe's or wherever, or Home Depot, wherever, they got some marble that you can look at, or you can look online, Google it. Usually there's in some of them, the white marbles with some black streaks, there's a little bit of brown tones in there. Those are, that's how it is in nature, even, just as an example. I am using the one brush from my set. I decided to use this just because I noticed I was going to have a much larger section, and with all these tubular pieces, I really just wanted to be able to reach around all those little spots. And with the one brush, it has a larger belly, so you can put a lot more paint into your paintbrush when it has a large belly, and let it just come out onto these pieces easier, especially if you thin it out nicely. Be very slow and meticulous. Now, we are trying to paint our models to be battle ready and look good and be done within a reasonable amount of time, because we all have work, jobs, life, people we have to see, and we don't want to be sitting inside of our work studios painting for 24/7, unless you're me, which I guess let's hang out. But probably not. Now, the arm is a really nice spot to put this gilded brown. It really starts to tip off the pointy pieces at the elbows and take out that flatness that we had from the cool tone armor to the Wildwood. Now, moving on to the legs, we're going to do the same thing we just did for the elbows, just to keep separating the armor, as we have some right around the butt and the groin, and we don't want to just like put a bunch of cool tones next to cool tones. And this goes into one point I like to make about painting your models, and a lot of people, they'll paint their entirety of their legs or their arms one solid color, and honestly, it looks good with a little bit of separation. If there's a little elbow piece, a knee piece, hip piece, anything to separate the joints from the main appendages at each joint is usually kind of a good way to separate your model's colors. Even a subtle change is really pleasing to the eye. Now we're just gonna start looking around and hitting these branches that we left white on purpose for a little bit more separation. Now, I left these on purpose while I was painting the body, one coat of the Wildwood, just because there was a really long piece of this dryad, or this Wildwood dark brown, that I wanted to separate a bit more. And it looks really nice. It blends really well into each other and makes this fun new look on the model. Now we're moving on to the next step, and we're going to be breaking out some of our Celestra Grey. I used this one from Citadel, but really you can use any kind of like mid-tone gray, something cool for this next step, because we're going to use this to bring out some mid-tones inside of our blue armor, our Incubi darkness armor. And you're just going to hit this a little bit generously, not too much, and I'm using the small dry brush from Citadel. Now, with the dry brush method, you're just taking some of the paint, taking a lot of it off onto your paper towel, whatever you're using, and don't wet your brush, don't wet the paint. You just want it a little bit, and you're going to hit this a few times. And the secret to dry brush: go in, dab, go out, look at it. Go in, dab, go out, look at it. You don't want to hit it too many times. Once you've hit it too many times, you've gone too far. So you just want to take it slow, and it'll work out really, really well. Now, this step, I took a little bit of my titanium white from liquitex. You can buy this at Michael's or online or any local art store, most likely. It's a nice, heavy white that, I don't know, it just looks nice. It's a really, really good white. And I mixed it with our Gorthor Brown. Half-half, about, I kind of have to eyeball it. I'd say about half-half, but just to give a highlight to our top branches and anything that I think would catch a little bit of light. It'll frame the face and frame a lot of whatever's on the top of the armor. And this will go into actually my everyday life. I am a hairstylist, and one thing that you learn is that the hair is the frame of the face, and that it's very important for us to, have our hair done, look good, and to show off our face and our good features. And that's what we really want to do with these highlights as well, and to our frame on our models, to frame not just the face on our models, but the whole thing. So highlights are nice. You definitely don't want to ignore highlights, or lining is the method, but I would say control your lining. You don't need to go everywhere. Not every single thing on your model should be lined, in my opinion. I think whatever's hitting light and whatever looks like you want to be accented to catch the eye, now that should be probably lined. In this next step, we're going to take that same titanium light we used earlier, and we're going to use the small dry brush, and we're going to dry brush very lightly over all of those highlight tones and really bring out those highlights again. It's going to give us a lot of depth of feel and give us more of a three-dimensional feel to our model, and more like he's actually in a location. So you're just going to hit all those same exact spots in the middle-ish and a lot less than you just did earlier. And it's going to really give this nice lighting effect to your model. Really easily, too. And now we're going to take a little bit of water and Incubi darkness. And I mean a little bit of Incubi darkness and more water. Not a lot. You're going to really water it down. Really water it down. And you're going to just wash it, all of the armor, to blend it all together. Really simple. It's not going to be a lot of color, but that's all you want. And it's looking really nice. And there you have it, your cool tone armor with highlights, all brushwork, and you're even able to put a little bit of glow effect later if you want with whatever color, and you can go right over those highlights. Thank you for coming and spending your time here at Painter's Block. We're happy to be here to help you get over that hurdle or whatever that next step is in your project. We hope that we can be here more, and please comment below, like or dislike. Let us know what you want to see next, and we'll put it out there as fast as we can. We're going to try to post every other day and keep you up on your painting hobby. And I hope we could help you break your painter's block.